Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Hilman here. I'm a medical doctor in the Netherlands, freshly out of medical school, finished studying in Maastricht University. In this video, I talk about all things medicine, medical school, moving from one place to another, integration and all that kind of stuff. So take a look around. If you like the stuff I produce, the content I make, be sure to subscribe so you stay updated with the videos that are going to be coming up. But in this video, we're going to be talking about 3 things you need to know as someone who wants to study medicine in the Netherlands in English. So this video is for all those who want to study medicine in the Netherlands in English and are looking for more information. These are 3 things which I think you should know if you're thinking about it before actually eventually starting the whole process. Like 3 things you must know before seriously considering studying in the Netherlands in English medicine. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first thing, of course, there are 2 universities in the Netherlands where you can study medicine in English. 2 universities. Groningen University all the way up in the north, northeast, and Maastricht University all the way down in the south of the country. So I went to Maastricht University, but of course when I was applying, because there are only 2 options available if you want to study in English, Maastricht down in Groningen, I had to look into both of them and see which one really fit me well. Groningen up north and Maastricht, based on the location, the study style, the education, the different ins and outs of the program, which I will make a separate video talking about. If you want to know more about the ins and outs of the program, let me know. I also made a video comparing Maastricht University and Groningen University, which one you should pick. Check that video, it's going to be attached somewhere around here. But basically the programs are different in their own unique ways, and in that video I go more in depth into that. But based on the location and stuff like that, you can pick which one works for you. But it's good to also keep in mind that only the bachelor's program is in English. So the master's would ultimately have to be in Dutch, because you cannot work with patients if you don't speak the language, because most of the patients here are Dutch speaking. So that's something to always keep in mind. There are 2 options where you can start the medical program basically in English, but you ultimately always have to finish the last 3 years. So the first 3 years of the bachelor's in English, the last 3 years are always going to have to be in Dutch. The second thing, which is something I get a lot of questions about from people, especially now with a lot of things happening around the world and people trying to transfer and move, is transferring medical schools, or transferring from one medical school to another medical school, like from an international medical school to a medical school in the Netherlands. Transferring, and how does that work and stuff like that. There is a lot of variation in the medical programs, the way the medical programs are taught within the medical schools in the Netherlands. So for example, you take Erasmus University in Rotterdam, how medicine is taught there is quite different from how medicine is taught in Maastricht University. The system, problem-based and like normal ways of getting lectures and exams and stuff like that really varies in the country alone. So that makes transferring within the country already very difficult. I had friends who have like tried to move from Maastricht University or transfer from Maastricht University to like Erasmus University or Amsterdam for their masters, because it just works well being close to family and stuff like that. But it's really difficult. It is theoretically possible, because I know people who have done it, but you go through a lot of a bureaucratic hassle to actually actualize that. And that's because there's just so much variety, or like the variability in the programs is big. So the way the bachelor's is taught in Maastricht, it's not the way the bachelor's is taught in Rotterdam. And the way the bachelor's is taught in Rotterdam is made to fit with the way the master's is in Rotterdam. So if you come with a bachelor's from Maastricht, it might not connect well with the master's from Erasmus. So that's why they try to like make sure that if you start somewhere, you finish there, because the programs are so unique and so different in many ways. So that makes really transferring within the Netherlands very difficult. Now, if you come with a degree from outside, and I can only speak in this case from Maastricht University, I don't think, as far as I know, because I've done some research into this as well, based on the questions I'm getting and requests, you cannot transfer from outside. Let's say you were a 5th year medical student in Nigeria or in Ukraine or in Ghana. I want to transfer here. That is not possible in Maastricht University, at least. You always have to apply to start again. So you always have to apply to start medical school in the Netherlands again, and then work your way up. Now, the caveat here is I've known people, or I know people who have come because they did like 5-6 years abroad, and they come and they apply to start again and they get admitted. And because the knowledge for them is so like familiar, they know everything, they pass, it's like chips for them. They don't really put that much effort. You can talk to the exam board or the authorities in charge, and they can test your knowledge, and based on if you show them that you're really a year 4 level instead of year 1, they can potentially push you ahead. So that is a way to navigate or trick the system into actually like getting more or less a transfer, but then it's just a longer procedure, it's more of a detour, and there is no guarantee that you would actually get pushed forward. But the thing is, if you are sure, you're confident of your knowledge, you've had all these years of experience and stuff like that, you have to apply to start again. That's how the system works. But eventually things can be fast forwarded. It's not like you have to always go through the whole process, but it's just you have to enter the system via the regular channels. And to add on to that, because a lot of people also talk about this as well, the selection to get into medicine in the Netherlands is quite tough, it's quite challenging, quite competitive, like a lot of places. I think it's actually not that bad if you compare it to France, for example. But a lot of people have difficulty with that, and then they give up on their dreams because, you know, it's just they cannot get into the Bachelor of Medicine. But the Bachelor of Medicine is not the only way to get into Maastricht University or to get into medical school in general, depending on your university, because Maastricht University has a lot of ways you can still get into the program. For example, they have the ACO program. That's like the Arztklinisch Onderzoeker. So you become a doctor and also a clinical researcher. You'll be trained to become that. So if you're particularly interested in research as well, you want to be a doctor and combine both, they have a program. And with that program, you have to do a bachelor's that is more or less medical related. So like health sciences, biomedical sciences. Now there's also one called regenerative medicine. These things which have similarities with medicine. If you do a bachelor's in that, you can apply for the ACO program. It's very competitive though, but you can get in because people get in and they don't have two heads. So you can get in like that, but then you apply after your bachelor's and then you get into that master program. It's 4 years, and in those 4 years you're trained to be a doctor and you're trained to be a researcher as well. They basically do rotations with us. They have lectures with us. We have tutorials together, but it's just they're following a more intensive program because they're doing a lot of research and a lot of medical stuff as well. So that's also another way to get into medicine or to become a doctor eventually without necessarily having to do the bachelor's in medicine. So if you never get into the bachelor's in medicine, it's not the end of the world. There's other ways to become a doctor if you really want to become a doctor. In addition to that, I also found out by watching a video yesterday while doing research for this video that there's also a way if you do like 1 year, you get like the propadeuse, which is like the diploma you get after the first year of studying in the university or college in the Netherlands. If you have a first, like the propadeuse from bachelor's related to health, that one I'm not too sure of. After your first year, you can apply to join medicine in your second year. That's something which Maastricht University also offers. But the ins and outs of that, I don't really know. I'm not too sure about that. If you're interested about it, if you're particularly keen on that, let me know in the comment section and I can either link you to the video I watched where they have probably more information about that, or I can make a separate video about that, do more research and tell you more about that as well. But those are all the options or ways in which you can eventually still study medicine and become a doctor, at least in Maastricht University, without necessarily getting into the bachelor. So if you don't get into the bachelor, that's not the end of the world. There's other ways as well. Other universities have different programs. In Utrecht, this is SUMA and stuff like that. So there's other possibilities in different universities as well. But for Maastricht University, which I'm familiar with, these are the options. Last but not the least, and this one is very important because this is where a lot of people who come to me with questions from different parts of the world always get stuck. It's the tuition fee. What is a tuition fee? And I was doing research for this video and I found a lot of things which for me were very shocking in terms of the tuition fee, the variation and how you can study medicine for 10,000 euros cheaper in one university in the Netherlands as compared to another university in the Netherlands. So I'm going to be breaking that down, what I found and what that actually means for you coming or wanting to come study here. I always say in my videos that studying medicine in the Netherlands is an international student, so someone who is non-EU or not from the EU, Switzerland or Suriname, that it costs 32,000 per year as opposed to 2,000-ish, which costs for like EU natives, EU nationals. That's a big difference. That's a 30,000 difference. So that's what I always thought. And that is still to some degree correct, because if you want to study in Maastricht and Groningen and you're not from the EU, Switzerland or EEA countries or Suriname, you still have to pay 32,000 for the bachelor's and for the master's of medicine. That's 6 years paying 32K. And in my head, I'm always like, if you can pay this amount of money to study in a country where you eventually have to learn a language which you're not familiar with, if you speak Dutch, great. If you really have an affinity for the Netherlands, fantastic. But if you really have to go through for some people, what some people consider a hassle of learning a new language, which is not an easy one too, you might as well go to a place like the UK or America and pay that money, which is almost the same thing, and study in the language which you're more familiar with and make the process more enjoyable for yourself, depending on who you are and what you like doing. So I always think if you can spend that amount of money here, you might also think about spending that somewhere else where life might just be potentially easier for you. I don't regret studying here. I would still recommend this over America every day, every hour. But if you are paying that amount of money here, it just doesn't make that much sense to me, right? But for Maastricht University and for Groningen, the two places where you study in English, that's still the tuition fee. Now, what I found, which is quite interesting for me, or was quite striking to me, is the degree of variation in the tuition fee. So let's say you study medicine in Utrecht as an international student. And for this one, I have to like pull my numbers. If you study in Utrecht University, medicine, the bachelor's, for 2024, 2025, it costs 26,686 and the master's costs 30,580. So you already see that there's a difference between the bachelor cost and the master cost to study medicine, but in Maastricht University is 32 for the bachelor's and the master's. I'm like, okay, why is there a difference in other places and there's no difference in Maastricht University? But of course, the caveat is in these other universities which I'm going to be listing, you have to study it in Dutch. So let's say you are someone who has Dutch parents, lived abroad, maybe that's not the nationality, but if you have parents, you have the nationality. So another example, let's say you somehow speak the language or have lived here for a while but still have the Cameroonian passport, for example, but you want to study medicine. This can be a big deal because you can speak the language but you just don't have the nationality to go with it. So then this could mean that you could study for example, in this case, 4,000 euros cheaper or 6,000 euros cheaper in Utrecht as compared to Maastricht. That for me is like striking. But let's go further. If you go to the Vrije University, so the Free University in Amsterdam, and you want to study in medicine, the bachelor's as an international student, it would cost you 21,940. Mind you, Maastricht was 32,000. Amsterdam is 21,000. That means it costs you almost 10,000 euros less to study medicine in Amsterdam than it would cost you to study medicine in Maastricht for the bachelor's. Now, in Amsterdam too, the master's was more expensive. The master's was 24,300, which is 2,000 euros more expensive than the bachelor's. Okay, let's say Maastricht University has an argument, or Groningen and Maastricht have an argument that they teach in English, which would make their tuition fee much more because they have to make more provisions for people studying in English or coming from abroad and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, let's give it to them. That makes sense to some degree. I don't know the ins and outs, but to some degree, I can imagine something there. But then why is the master's the same as the bachelor? Because in the master's it's all in Dutch, so you eliminate the English aspect. If that is something that plays a role, why then are the two programs the same cost? Why does the master cost the same as the bachelor? Like, why is there a big variation like that? Okay, the master's is more arrangements with the hospital and stuff like that. So I can imagine that other universities make the master's more expensive than the bachelor's. But then in Maastricht, there's no difference. In Groningen, there's no difference between the bachelor and the master's. I'm really curious if someone knows the reason why, one, the bachelor costs the same as the master's in Groningen University and Maastricht University, but in other universities there's a difference in price. And two, why Maastricht and Groningen are that much more expensive than other places. Because it's good to know, maybe reverse a little bit, there's two types of tuition fees, the statutory tuition fees and the institutional tuition fees. The first one, the name is difficult, I can't pronounce it very well. The first one is the one which all EU students pay, which is like 2,000 something, increases every year. The government regulates that, the government subsidizes that as well. So it's so low because it's subsidized. But the other one, the institutional fee, is something which is set by institutions. So institutions get to set the prices because that's the actual price of the program. And the government doesn't subsidize that, so you have to like pay the full price. So institutions get to decide how high or how low that is. So then I'm like, okay, Maastricht or Groningen definitely decided that this is going to be their price for the tuition fee for medicine. But I'm like, based on what? And there's just a lot of questions from which arose from seeing these numbers. Well, I'm just like, it can't be that it costs 10,000 euros less to study medicine in Amsterdam compared to studying medicine in Maastricht. I really want to understand what's going on there. And for example, in Erasmus University, it's around 28,300. So there is really a big variation. So far, I didn't look at all the universities. I looked at like Amsterdam, I looked at Rotterdam, I looked at Groningen, I looked at Maastricht, I looked at Utrecht. So there seems to be such a big variation with Amsterdam being the cheapest, or at least Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam being the cheapest, and Maastricht University and Groningen being the most expensive. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening there. But if you're someone who's trying to really think about this and you speak Dutch, there's a big variation. But if you're looking just for English, then the tuition fee stays 32,000 for the bachelor's and the master's, which is really quite expensive. And people who come to me asking for advice on studying medicine in the Netherlands and stuff like that, the first thing I always try to make clear to them is, have you looked at the tuition fee? Because that is a big barrier for a lot of people, because I cannot imagine a lot of people pay these fees. The only people I've known who actually paid these fees were people from Saudi Arabia who came to study, and the government paid that for the most part. I think this is the most important point, because without this, we can basically disregard the first 2 points. If you cannot pay the tuition fee, you can go around applying for the program, but if you cannot pay the tuition fee, then what is it really worth? And that's really a waste of time, because in the Netherlands as well, you can apply for medicine only 3 times, and you can apply only 2 times in Maastricht University. You don't want to waste your trial if you can just wait, put certain things in place and apply and pay way less. So I think it's good to keep this in mind. The tuition fee is crazy. Look into that before you apply. There's 2 options where you can study medicine, Maastricht and Groningen, and there's a huge variety in the way the programs are taught. So definitely look into the teaching systems. I personally have an affinity for Maastricht, not only because I studied there, because the system just works best for me. It really trained me. It made me really be problem-oriented in my medical education and just seeing the world in general, which I think is something I did not have prior to that. So having that now really formed me well. But definitely look into these things before deciding on where to study medicine in the Netherlands, if you're going to study medicine in the Netherlands, and then you can hopefully make a better decision that suits you and works best for you. And to add to that, there are no scholarships to study medicine in the Netherlands as far as I know for international students. I get a lot of questions about that as well, but there are no scholarships to study medicine as far as I know. If you know any scholarships to study medicine in the Netherlands, please let me know in the comment section so I can also inform more people about that as well. But that has been it for this video. I hope this was helpful to some people. If you've watched this video and you've decided, okay, I'm gonna, like, everything works out for me based on what I've spoken about here, I'm gonna apply. I want to apply, but I'm still confused. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know how it works. I need help. I offer coaching services as well. I help people navigate the process and coach them through the whole thing. So be sure to reach out to me. Let me know in the comment section, and I'll send you my email where you can reach out with these inquiries, and you can just reach out to me and I offer coaching services and we can plan something. This has been it, guys. I hope this was a helpful video. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to stay updated with videos that are going to be coming up. Share with others who you feel like might need to watch the video as well. But until next time, guys, stay blessed and peace.